while she needs no introduction. And I have to say, this is a huge honor because this is the first time that I've been involved with Hawaiian IANDS that she's our second returning speaker. So I am so thrilled to have our guest here with us today. And she really does need no introduction, but I'm going to, for the benefit of people on Facebook that are just joining us live, and the one or two people that maybe don't know who Tricia is, I'm going to introduce her. In 1994, Tricia Barker died for 2.5 minutes during an emergency spinal tap surgery after a car wreck. She bled to death on the operating table and was immediately ushered into a consciousness beyond this one, where she met with angels who assisted with healing her on many levels. Tricia's near-death experiences ultimately granted her freedom from fear and freedom to be free of judgment. Her near-death experience story has been featured on I Survived, Beyond and Back, the Dr. Oz Show twice. She's also been featured on the cover of Women's World magazine, National Geographic magazine, Simple Grace magazine, the Epoch Times, as well as she's going to be on the upcoming Gaia special George Norris show. Her memoir, Angels in the OR, What Dying Taught Me About Healing, Survival, and Transformation, tells the story of her near-death experience, her teaching mission, and the eventual triumph over trauma in her past. Her book also focuses on the importance of being of service to the world. Tricia has also served as a keynote speaker of several IANDS annual conferences and will be a distinguished speaker at this summer's 2022 IANDS conference in Salt Lake City. As I previously mentioned, you can see her in the upcoming episode of George Norris' hit show, Beyond Belief. Tricia is a graduate of the University of Texas, and she's also an English professor at Fort Worth. She's also available for spiritual counseling, mediumship readings, and theta healings. Tricia has come to share some of her wisdom with us tonight. Many of you know how she has literally devoted her life to service and to helping others heal as she's healed herself. So tonight she's going to be sharing how we can all open ourselves up to more divine guidance and unconditional love. I'm really proud to introduce my friend, Tricia Barker. Thanks, Tricia.
Oh, thank you, Shaun. It's a pleasure to be here with you. You always make these meetings fun, whether you're coming to my group or meeting on YouTube, and I hope we meet someday. But thank you for that introduction. And I think it was Stephen who was saying how we're all changing and we're all growing and we're all evolving. And the cool thing about a near-death experience is that it does kind of break open your boundaries and does show you a different world. But that doesn't mean that I'm still not working on, say, judgment or, say many other things on the path. And I think that it's interesting to follow this. And so I really love being involved with people. This is what makes this so fun to me. So I hope everyone will have your chat boxes open. And I know we have a Q&A at the end, but I don't mind if people ask me questions as I'm talking. But the first story that I just want to put out there for you, and I just assume that a lot of people who show up to these events have had your own spiritual experiences, or maybe you're empaths, but what do you do when you see someone in great pain? So out in public, maybe you see someone crying, or you see someone on a park bench, or you see someone just overwhelmed with sadness. Is your first reaction judgment? Or is it like, wow, what is that person going through? I wonder how they're overwhelmed. I wonder what I could say to that person to make them feel better. And I have a message for you from my angels. When people are at that place of overwhelmment, and there's a lot of that in our world, what people need is encouragement that it's going to get better, that the next moment is going to get better, that they can start opening to unconditional love from a source beyond themselves, because they're cut off from unconditional love in those moments. They're cut off from their own unconditional love, their own inability to give empathy to themselves, and maybe all the people around them are not giving them empathy. And so they are in this space of no hope. And I think one of the most important things that we can do is show kindness to others, because that's one of the things that near-death experiencers say over and over and over again, is it's not our great accomplishments. It's not that I wrote a book. Oh, fuck, that hardly even matters. And it's at the end of the day, like, the book matters so very little. But I know, like, the moments that I've been present for a student who was perhaps, in need of therapy and needed a few words of encouragement to go get help for himself or herself, or to go into rehab, or to really just believe that he or she can pass this course. And, I'm a quote easy A as a professor. So, I mean, a lot of times I'm like, no, trust me, you can pass, just turn in some work and I'll help you. So it's not really a whole lot that people need. And I don't know why empathy is so misunderstood. But when you see someone crying, they're not manipulating the world, they're overwhelmed. And I've seen this in bathrooms a lot of times, and I don't know why this is coming up a lot, but I've, in the women's restroom, I've seen, young college students just bawling their eyes out. I'm gonna fail this course. And so I've stopped and I've said, listen, even if you do fail this course, you can take it again, you can get that degree, your life will change. You really don't know if you're gonna fail. I'd say go cry to your professor, because we do have hearts. Like, there might be something that can be done, but if not, just stay in that moment of loving yourself through this journey, even when it doesn't seem to be working out for your benefit. And with that, I think I do want to talk about the near-death experience, because I think a lot of times we don't believe that that is what is working out for our benefit the moment it happens, because it's coupled with a lot of PTSD. It's coupled with being in the hospital. It's coupled a lot of times with great physical trauma. And for those of you who don't know my story, I'm briefly going to tell it, but I was an agnostic college student, very dedicated to material success as a way to get out of poverty in my small town. And really, it was my wounded ego, to be honest. I didn't like being a poor kid. I didn't like being judged for the clothes that I wore, for not being, quote, good enough for people's standards. So I thought, well, if I'm smart enough, I will get into a good college. I will become a lawyer. I will make money. Everything about that will be solved, because I'll look just fine. I'll have great things, and my image to the world will cut off some of that judgment. And that was my main mode of operandus from that time period. It was like, my only way out. And when I had that near-death experience, it seemed like the most painful thing to do to me. It did not seem like a loving thing to have a car wreck where I didn't know if I was going to walk or not, where I waited 17 hours in a hospital bed. And people often ask me about that pain, 17 hours with no painkiller. And, what I take from that is that my body is, in my mind, learned how to live with pain in those 17 hours, learned how to adjust. And it was a beautiful thing. And I'm not the first person to do that, and I'm certainly not the last person. But even before the near-death experience came on board, there was something that I was learning in those moments of surrender. Because until you surrender to all that horrific pain that this physical existence can bring us, you can't surrender to the answer, which is spiritual love, which is unconditional love. And so when I went into surgery, I surrendered. There was that foxhole prayer. And so many people live their lives encased in just their body. And I want you to be honest with me. I mean, not everyone who listens to near-death experiences feel this way, but how many of you feel like you have a consciousness that extends outside of your body, that, you really pick up on the energy of the room and people and animals and places, and And I just would love to see this go through. And it's not wrong if you feel like you're mostly encased in your body. I'm just saying that that's how I felt, is encased in my body before the near death experience. And as soon as I had that experience, I was no longer this body. And that's a very hard thing to come to terms with for the rest of my life. So, this grand experience was beautiful, but it made me very ambivalent about this body, very ambivalent about death, very ambivalent about being in it. That realm was so powerful that I was fascinated. First, I was fascinated that these angels worked through my surgeons, sent this light energy that was more powerful than the surgery itself. Even when you have something small, and how many of you have been in the ER within the last couple of years? Like, I'd love to hear that. Even when something small happens, it's traumatic, because you don't know physically what's going on. Your life is in the hands of other people. And in that realm, though, I realized, like, oh, it didn't matter. These angels, this energy that was greater than the neurosurgeons, were assisting me, and they really did love me, and they wanted me to walk. They wanted me to have a good life. And I think we should call on our angels, even in this meeting tonight. So I'm not a magic worker by any means, but at the end of this call, what I really love to do is just give a few theta healings. So if there's something on your heart or something that you want me to tune into, maybe it's not even me that gives the answer. Maybe it's something through me. And that's what I saw in that room, was that these surgeons were not aware of the fact that the angels were working through them, nor were they even spiritual, but these angels were indeed working through them. And they were indeed really participating with this absolute beautiful energy. So I felt at peace, I felt at home, I felt loved, I felt cared for, and I knew I'd walk. Most of all, I knew that I would be in this place of absolute peace. And what happened next is that I left the body and I disconnected, and nothing felt better. So leaving behind all the worries, all the fear, all that was connected to this form was the best feeling in the world, better than any drug, better than any particular passion I'd ever experienced. It was true release. And, most people fear death and they think that it's a terrible thing. All I can say is it was the best thing that I ever experienced from the moment it happened until the moment I was forced back into my body. I felt this oneness with other people. I felt this freedom. I felt this connection to loved ones on the other side. And I also felt this greater intelligence coming through me that still comes through me in simple ways. And these messages are not complicated, but the message is love is all that matters and all that we take with us. So Stephen, thank you for that meditation and for reminding us that all lower energies really don't have to be a part of our lives, that we can simply let go of them. I didn't know how to do that at 21, but that near-death experience began to show me. And there was still a lot of cultural programming. There was still a lot of emotional pain after that near-death experience to continue working on. And I wouldn't say that I'm by any means healed on all levels. I'm just so much better than I was then, and that's, I think, what most people say about a near-death experience is, holy crap, my consciousness was like this. It was right here in my body, right here, thinking about my insecurities, my pain, my heart, my this, my that. I hardly thought about other people at all, except what they thought about me. And that's not a good way to live. That's a recipe for absolute disaster, because that's totally selfish and immature. Of course, a lot of people have to grow up that way, but the near-death experience really showed me that, I'm connected to other people in this beautiful way. And that unconditional love of that other side can heal us. And that's the healing that we need to bring here. So a lot of people talk about how, There's a necessary for darkness or good and evil, but what the near-death experience showed me is no, shut up and just bring the light. No, we're not here to talk about the darkness all the time and the division. We're here to walk into that room and bring the light, because that's what we near-death experiencers are meant to do. Is we may not be perfect, but we know what it is, and we know how to bring it, and we know how to remind people to be that light themselves, because it's simple. We were that way as children. As children, and Stephen, you mentioned this in your meditation as well, we simply were alive with joy. And, we were all shut down in a variety of ways, in ways that are quite sad, in ways that are quite tragic. I just got a question of, it's wonderful to hear about near-death experiences. Has it totally eliminated your fear of death? For those of us who have not had this experience personally, what would you recommend to alleviate this deep fear? Well, the Buddhists, they love those meditations about meditating on your death. And I hate to say it, but I roll. Okay, been there, done that. I don't need to meditate on my death. I know what my death is. Been there, done it, and totally merged with it. So yeah, there's no fear of death as a near-death experiencer. There's still fear of physical pain, long drawn out illness. I'm a big fan of, I hate to say it, but euthanasia, for me personally, as a choice, if I knew I had a terminal illness and I worked long enough and hard enough with my team of angels and was done, with this life, I would have no fear in just simply going. I've been tested. I've been in an airplane that was going down, and it was really pretty calm as the plane was going down. And at the last minute, the engine caught, and the people next to me were totally freaked out. But I was really just prepared to meet the light, just in that moment, well, okay, I didn't think it would happen right now, but apparently it could. And so let's just prepare. So I'd say meditation, people say all the time, is a great way to alleviate that fear of death. But I think it is getting outside of your body somehow. So even if meditation doesn't give you that out-of-body experience immediately, I'd say commit to it for practice of 4 to 5 years, where really you are working on getting outside of your body, having an out-of-body experience. A lot of people with terminal illnesses who have out-of-body experiences have the same peace as near-death experiencers. And I have to tell you that, I'm really blessed to get calls from people around the world. And about 4 years ago, I got a call from a woman in hospice who only had a few weeks to live. And she just paid for time with me. And she's like, I want to meditate with you. I don't have a ton of energy, but I want you to help me see that light. And so, many times we just meditated. And I'm pleased to say that she did get to that point where she felt the light coming for her. She felt at peace before she left. So I would say, Tim, to that deep fear that is in a lot of people, it can leave at the end. You can find your strength in that moment when it is coming from you. The peace of those angels can show up, and it can, at that moment, change. But I'd love for everyone in life to have more out-of-body experiences and to have more of those moments that are just deep confirmation. And that's why, in my spiritual community and other people, spiritual communities, I think it's so important to share these spiritual stories. So Shaun is saying, tell some of the story and who you were, for the people who don't know the story. Yeah, so I recognize a lot of you, and I know many of you know my story, but for those of you who don't, I was a college student and an agnostic, and had really had a deeply abusive childhood, emotionally and physically, and even sexually, with an uncle. And, this culmination of abuse was a lot. But how children are so resilient. I found the one thing that I was good at, which was school, and that was my driving force. And that's just basically who I was: shy, wounded, and dedicated to success. The problem was when I had this near-death experience, I was given by Creator, by God, this mission to come back to teach. And I was shown this river, and many people had shadows around them. So they had what I saw as fear. And Course in Miracles talks about this very clearly, or they had light around them. And it was just very simple. It was like either you're in the light and you're in the love and you're in that flow of God, or your fears are completely blocking you from all the goodness that can exist here and that can be a part of our lives. And sometimes we just need simple reminders. Sometimes we need big reminders. Sometimes we need compassion and empathy from other people, compassion and empathy for ourselves. Um, who I was before I had no spiritual gifts, I would say. I wasn't by any means a psychic or a medium. And this evolved very slowly. First, I just went into classrooms. The first year after the near-death experience, I worked a lot on my physical healing, learned how to walk, and then I just trusted, like any other person might trust doing any other job. If you simply ask that other side to work through you, sometimes it does. And so that was my motto: do no harm and ask for help from the other side. And I had many, many magical experiences as a teacher. I kind of believe that everybody should volunteer in really tough schools across the country, because these tough schools open you to the vast problems in society. And maybe there's a lot more dysfunction than we could ever wrap our heads around in so many families. And maybe it doesn't come from the family itself. It comes from a neighbor, from a church, but there's a lot of dysfunction in children's lives, whether it's direct family members or community. And what I saw is so many children and teenagers trying to believe in themselves just a little bit, but they were so beaten down emotionally that they didn't even know how to love themselves. They didn't even know how to connect to that light. And so a lot of work that I was doing was very simple, is just pointing out what people did well. And I think if we spent most of our days just complimenting people on the things that they do well, we'd be helping this world a lot. Than if we simply just pointed out everything that everybody is doing well. And with students, a lot of times they don't think they're doing anything well in 8th grade or 9th grade. I mean, their self-esteems are so broken and so fragile. And yet at the same time, they're also so capable of great change. So it's a beautiful experience to work with someone who is deeply wounded, but yet with just a few words of encouragement really changes his or her ways. And you see like this whole new motivation to either write or to paint or to learn music or to go be, a doctor or neurosurgeon or whatever, like the goal may be. Auto mechanics sometimes, it doesn't have to be a great big dream, but it was just so nice to see students latch on and believe that they were capable of doing something. And I think that was largely my role, is to quit thinking about myself and to get out there and get busy and help other people. And that's what the near-death experience really did for me. So when you want to open to more unconditional love, yes, you can go out to nature and ask God to give you more love. Yes, you can meditate, but really the best way to connect to it is to help people who are hurting worse than you. And walk in any school and you'll probably find it. Am I still teaching? I am. The part of my life that has changed, and this, feel free, know there's intuitives here, for you to give me feedback on this, but this was the strangest thing so it was around 2016 or 17. I'd been teaching, for quite some time, right, 95 onward, I jumped right into it. And so around 2016, I heard this booming voice from Creator just kind of rumble through me and say, your mission is completed. And I was like, what? Am I going to die now? And I'm not afraid of death, but I was like, am I going to get, a terminal disease? And what I would begin to hear was that a lot of the contracts I had with particular students had played out, that they have jobs, they were taking care of their families, they needed someone like me, or me in particular, to kind of hold their hands through the system and to get to a different place. And now I wasn't necessarily the person that had to do this, and that perhaps education was changing. There were a lot of things that came through my mind, and honestly, I'm lazy. So the first thing I said to God was, I just want a hammock and a lot of money, and I don't want to do anything. I'd like to retire right now. Like, I have done what I needed to do. Then, if my mission is over, can I please just have some fun? Because I didn't understand what to do beyond teaching. So, long story short, I am still teaching, but this is why I wrote the book, why I started the YouTube channel, why I started really connecting with people. Before, I told my channel on a few networks and, at different IANDS groups, but I didn't really make it, that available to people where I could be contacted and work with people with mediumship or with angel readings or theta healings. But I decided that I would just open to the next journey. And in all honesty, it's hard. So I feel blessed that I was given a particular mission that was a lot easier than near-death experiencers who come here and they're not exactly sure what their mission is. The only way I stay, I think, in integrity is like, I am doing the best I can and hoping that the other side works through me for the people that I connect with. Like, that's, to me, still staying in that integrity, doing no harm and really doing my best to help others with grief, with passing to the other side, with questions about their life. The questions that I always try to, the questions that I love the most, I think, are how to deepen one's spiritual path, how to really participate with that other side. Because honestly, I'm kind of a strange person, and that I can spend most of my day alone with spirit and be very happy. Like, I can talk to God, I can feel my angels. If no one is around, if I don't have to do anything, then I can largely spend my day like very happy. If I'm in control, in the classroom, and I'm bringing that energy, then I can stay pretty happy as well, because there's such a big need. When I personally get into trouble is when I really let the energies of this world, whether it's the news, whether it's other people, really just start influencing me and bringing me back into my body and out of that realm. But, I think true integration is being able to hold that higher vibration here in the physical. And I think that's what we're all learning to some degree, is how to hold that unconditional love and that beauty, which is really easy to connect with in meditation and being alone, but really hard to connect with when you are being judged, when you're being attacked, when you are being harmed perhaps in some way. It's hard to bring that higher perspective and let go of judgments in those moments. And I recently interviewed someone who talked about, well, when is it right to use the shadow side or the dark side? And her response was, well, yeah, look out at nature. Like, we can see animal documentaries all day. There's going to be a moment where you might have to bite back and save your life. Like, there's going to be a literal moment where you might have to save your existence in order to move forward. But that doesn't mean that you just go through life being a predator or being that dark side and making excuses for yourself. But that's really only in those deeply self-protective moments. So, when I look at teaching, I don't know really what to do beyond that. And so I play around with other ideas. I really just kind of have two lives. I have this spiritual, platform, if you want to call it that, where I interview people from time to time and do take clients from time to time. But the majority of my work world is still at the college. And Oh, interesting, Mark. I often wonder how you stand being back in the physical world after having a transcendent experience in the NDE. The more painful times here in this world, like people have criticized near-death experiencers for being suicidal. And it's not that we're always suicidal, it's just that we get really sick of this place sometimes, like really sick. And and sometimes maybe near death experiencers are a little suicidal because there is this sense of, oh, have I completed the mission enough? Can I just go now? I mean, there is an actual hate sometimes for being in the body, feeling the pain, feeling the emotional pain, feeling the heaviness of this. But this talk is really about how to bring in more unconditional love. So, in those spaces and in those times, it's really important to go, after all, this is a short journey, and all those spirits on the other side keep telling me that they're going to see me very soon. They're going to see all of us very soon, even if you're quite young, that time is relative over there. So, all of your loved ones who are over there, anyone here who beats me there, it's going to feel like I'm there like that. Like, you're there, then I'm there. It's not going to feel long for you on the other side, waiting for your loved ones and waiting for people that you've known. What feels long is this physical world sometimes, is what we have to transform. And I love what Matt Kahn has said many times about transformation, that even when we've taken on heavy, heavy things, like heavy things in our lives, whether that's abuse, whether that's sexual assault, whether that is absolute devastation and divorce, whatever it is. I think it is, how can I make this lighter for other people, even if it's with my prayer for this world, even if it's for, oh God, let the next person who goes through this do it with more grace. Let the next person who encounters this, find help quicker, let whatever it is that someone is dealing with, let there be an answer. Let this life become much lighter and much easier than it is. So to Tim's question, what I'm teaching is English literature, mostly American literature. And what I love about that is that there's always a theme that you can tie to someone's life, in a story. And, that idea of, most writers honestly write about horrible relationships. Like if you look at most short stories, it's generally about the pain that someone feels in a marriage, or the pain that someone feels with their family, taking care of a mom or dad. There's a lot of regret that writers write about, looking back going, oh, if only I could have known what I know now, I'd write a different story. And so I think this gives people and students an opportunity to go, what kind of life do I want to live? What kind of story do I want to create? And, I encourage them to think deeply before jumping in about the stories that they do want to create. And I love some of these quotes. Dustin Hoffman to his dying mother, "I'll be there in a minute, Ma. I'll be right there." He got it right. I mean, that was the telepathic light that my father sent to me when he died. And he was like, "I'll see you in a little bit." I was like, it's not going to be that quick. But to him, it really was just that quick, that I'll be there. And someone else said, my mother, after transitioning, conveyed to me very clearly, don't take life so seriously. That's where a lot of that heaviness and pain comes from, is taking ourselves so seriously and taking this life so seriously. Because when you see it more as play, then you're able to see solutions. So, when I heard that message from Creator about, my mission was over, I was actually diagnosed with, it was really funny. That message came like moments before I got this call from my doctor. And my doctor said, I can't believe you're standing. Your thyroid levels are so low. You need to, like, you probably should have been in a midexima coma already. I can't believe you're walking, get here right now. We're probably going to send you to the ER and, get you some thyroid, medicine in your system. And I remember thinking, oh, so this is in a way the beginning of dying. Of course, thyroid disease can heal, and I do take it seriously and do everything I can. But it was just this reminder that, oh, so my body is beginning to change. It is beginning to die in some way. And perhaps I'm not meant to. I was such a go-getter, like, because I didn't have children. Who I was at the campus, in those early years, as someone who would work 12, 14, 15-hour days. I mean, like crazy. Like, I would work with the students. I'd do service learning. We'd clean up the river on the weekend. We'd do other things. We'd go work with the homeless people in Lancaster. Like, I just believed that the more I could involve them in working with other people, the more they'd be engaged in school. And I had really great numbers with keeping students engaged in school because I put in that extra effort, but I think I wore myself out. And so perhaps that message was also this message of, hey, slow down and take care of yourself, and you've done enough. So I don't really know, honestly, what my future is and what God wants from me. So I kind of take it day by day at this point, but I do like being available to people, and I do still enjoy teaching. To another quote, it seems that there are more and more near-death experiencers. Do you agree? Is a major spiritual awakening underway? Can we hope for a better and peaceful, more America, and I'll say world? Let me just tune in, if you don't mind, Pierre, to that. What I can tell you before tuning in is that students have a language for spirituality that I've never seen before. So in the last couple of years, coming back into the classroom, more of them have a language for meditation. More of them are sensitive or deeply thinking about this world, about the changes they want to make. They also are aware of near-death experiences. So I think near-death experiences are a cultural part of our understanding, and that they certainly have changed the world. When it comes to violence, yes and no. Not unless all of us develop a whole lot more empathy. And I mean all of us. So not just those of us here in the group, but people just walking by. I don't think we realize how on edge people are. And I have great respect for people who work in emergency rooms, because they ask that question, are you a danger to yourself and others? And I think more often we need to ask people that very question, like, how on edge are you? And what can we do to help you in this moment? Do you need a meal? Do you need, what is it that you need? I've really been deeply thinking about this in my work in Fort Worth. I haven't done it yet, but I hope to work next semester with students and with this psychologist who does meditations out in downtown Fort Worth, and then a yoga class in the evenings. And then afterwards, she just allows people to express what they're going through and kind of confide in one another. And I think group therapy is so important, because once we hear, oh my God, that person is going through that horrible experience, and so am I, like a friendship starts, like a real community starts. And as far as a piece that I'm going to get to your hand, Stephen, because I see it up, as far as a more peaceful America, I think there's pockets of peace everywhere, and I think there's pockets of violence. And so we need these pockets of peace to spread, and it's little things. So, it's always a small thing, but I saw during the pandemic, I saw this man who couldn't afford, and he was arguing because he had to buy something in bulk, and then he had a pizza, and I realized he was arguing that he didn't want to buy bulk beans, and I saw the money he had in his hands, and I realized he didn't have enough money for the beans and the pizza. And so I just paid for his food because I was like, oh yeah, I have plenty of money for beans and pizza. So let's just, let this man move on out the line. And he was, frazzled and shocked. But I think it was just really important because I sensed some desperation in him, like, I'm gonna take someone's groceries. Like, I got this sense that he was on edge in that moment. And I think instead of pointing out, oh, that's a criminal taking someone's groceries, fucking buy his groceries. Just, like, if you have the money to do it, like, just do it. Like, that's how we stop violence, as we step in sometimes when people are really in pain. But Stephen, I'd like to answer your question.
Oh, no question. I just wanted to touch on what you said about not knowing where you're going, following that energy, and it's being entirely present. And if we can correct that resonance, no matter what's going on around us, that's going to give us a much richer experience. It's going to guide us intuitively where we need to go. So as long as we learn how to operate the correction of this system and bounce things back and forth from the field and lighten our own nervous system and correct that resonance, we'll be guided to where we need to go. And it's so much richer of an experience when you allow yourself to be that present. And you're like, I don't know where I'm going tomorrow. It's so much more beautiful. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, that's why I think people love travel, because when you're somewhere new, you just kind of sink into that space of what am I going to do next? But yeah, there was a beauty after the near-death experience of every moment. Every piece of food seemed amazing, and I wasn't quite sure, what the next bite was going to taste like. And it was really joyful. I mean, I can't tell you how much a song on the radio, how much an apple meant, but yeah, there's this talk of, the other side being so grand, but being present with your life here is a beautiful experience too. And that's really my focus moving forward, is I'm kind of tired of talking about healing trauma. I really want to hear from people, and that's my focus on my YouTube channel. I want to hear from people who are living well and loving life and enjoying it and transforming that energy instantly, and really just alive with wisdom and alive with this joy for life, because we don't have much time here. And the more we can get it right more frequently, then the better it is. Like, from the other side.
As somebody who has had an NDE, I also relate to your wanting to leave, because as you experience such a pure place where none of these things exist, and you want to go back there, but I was shown that you kind of are doing your life review now, and we can do it while we're in our bodies and reach that place of pure peace and love.
Yeah. You're not alone, and I'm not alone in that feeling of, missing. I mean, how can you not miss that unconditional love? Because you'll only get pieces of it here. And heck, I can't even bring it in, the way I felt it there. I can bring in pieces of it, but I can't seem to bring it in full force sometimes in meditations. And here's some great questions on the other side.
Yeah, one thing you do so well in your spiritual community, that a lot of people that come to our sharing groups and a lot of NDEers, they've gone through this trauma, and part of their depression lies that they're trying to reconnect with that unconditional love. So what are some of the tools that you've learned that some people could, that you could share with people, that you are sharing with people?
Yeah. So one thing that I absolutely love, and if you live with someone, then maybe you have to do, a different kind of bedtime ritual. Maybe you have different, time. One person's a morning person. If you're a night person, I'd say go into another room and meditate before bed. And really set an intention for lucid dreaming, and connect with your guides and angels and say, hey, I know my consciousness is more open in my sleep. I have this problem. I give it to you, and do it in that dreamscape. But you can do it in nature as well. Robin Lansong and a few others have talked about this, that really a walk alone can do that. So you can simply walk. And I have had these moments where, just random cruelty, I've experienced in the workplace, or, just with random people. And I've asked God. There was this one coworker who was like really, really caustic to me. And I took a walk and thought about it and looked at different, beautiful trees. And I was like, hey, God, whatever part of this interaction is me, then just teach me to be better. And whatever part of this interaction is this other person, I really just ask you to take it from me and to wash it from my consciousness, and to send unconditional love back to that person so that person can grow. And I swear to God, I couldn't remember that person's name at the end of the walk. Like, it was that complete. I was like, who was that? What did they do? I was like, I guess I didn't have much part in that one, because that was just taken from me. Call it short-term memory loss, but I call it God literally just taking that energy from my field and go, that was someone else's to work on, honey. That was not you. And so I would say literally give some problems to a higher power. Recovery groups talk about that, and it really can't be said enough. It's, when I've been really down and I have suffered from depression, I have to hit it with all kinds of different things. So listening to positive podcasts, journaling, sending emails out to people and reminding them how much they mean to me, making an effort to connect with people who do make me laugh and, do give me joy in this life, and also being of service to others, doing exercise. I mean, like, shoot, I think my whole life sometimes revolves around, just self-care and care for others. So I think,
laughter's the key, like our conversation this morning.
What's that?
Our conversation this morning. Remember?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Laughing about simple things.
Laughing about the simple things, the absurd things, the ridiculous things that, anyway. Yeah.
So, and how about theta healing? Theta healing. For a lot of people don't know what that is. And a big reason that I wanted you to come back is because, as I don't like to promote healers necessarily, but I have to, with Tricia, she's done some theta healing and stuff with me, and it's absolutely amazing. I was just blown away. And so, maybe you could share some of that with people, and, what it is and how it's helped you. And
yeah. So, the whole thing has been a journey. I didn't want to be, I know you're a reluctant medium and I was a reluctant medium, when it came to that. I was kind of reluctant with healing too. I heard about, Reiki for years and just was like, yeah, that's beautiful. I understand that the angels did it. People can do it, but I just didn't want to learn it. And I joke because the healing modality that I picked is one that has a lot of words. Like, I'm a talker. There's nothing about me that isn't afraid of talking. And theta healing is really about digging deeper and getting to the root cause, whether it is something ancestral or genetic that we're holding on to. Like, just think about all that our ancestors survived. And sometimes all the great pain that they survived. Like, we think, we're worried about division and violence in America right now, but think about what people have survived from the beginning of time, and what kind of programs they hold in their body, and what they are afraid of, at some genetic level. It's overwhelming, but some things are kind of surprising what we hold. We think, oh, I've worked through that in therapy and there's absolutely no way I could hold that program, but you'd be surprised what programs you hold within yourself. And some common ones, and I can do some of these, is, I'm not worthy of unconditional love. I'm not worthy of having my needs met. I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of abundance. I'm not worthy of, like usually that worth thing, that self-esteem thing is a big blocker for people, but there's other blockers. But theta healing works on this DNA level where it literally asks God, creator, to change a program that your ancestors have held on to, since the beginning of time, and give you a different one to really move forward in this world and create more light. And then much like past life regressions can clear up some things that we hold on to at a soul level. Oh my God, I could spend a whole night talking about about those past life regressions, and I'll just give you a quick summation of a couple that have really worked wonders for me. But the one I want to tell you about is I held on to a piece of property from my father, and it would not sell. He died, and I had this piece of property, had like 5, 6 different realtors. The neighbor was really stingy and wanted a much higher price than it was worth, and I needed to sell the whole thing, and the neighbor needed to sell at the same time. So I did a past life regression around it. It sold the next day. So like a buyer offered, something literally the next day. But what I felt in that regression is that no matter what time period you happen to live in, and no matter, in that regression, I went back to a time period, probably early 1800s, and I was a Native American woman in that life, and I was very good at making jewelry and material for saddles, and my father sold a lot of it, but I actually received money, and I was safe. I wasn't harmed in that life, and I did well financially. And you wouldn't think of a Native American in that time period actually just being a phenomenal artist, but I was just a phenomenal artist. And I knew that my work was good and that people would pay money for it, and they wanted it on their saddles and their boots, and they wanted this stuff that I created. And so I felt really strong and powerful. And so that energy changed the whole dynamic of how I lived the next day of my life, which then changed the trajectory of what happened next. So people have healed just at that soul level. And this is, part of what theta healing does, is looking at some soul wounds, holding on to those soul wounds, letting go of those, and sometimes dramatic changes can occur. Now, obviously, I love it because when you have had a life of child abuse, or you've had, some real tough early trauma, you might still need to work on some programs. There might be some deep stuff that you're continuing to work on because certain things are triggered in the moment. But what theta healing allows you to do is whatever triggers you in the moment. So whatever that may be, then you simply say, at whatever level this is within me, I ask that this program be deleted, and I ask that a different program be given to me at the genetic level, at the soul level, and at the core level. And the core level is what we kind of hold on to from the news, podcast, what other people say, our family programming, just like everything that we hear. And it certainly changes us. But I like to believe that I'm trauma informed, and I can certainly be more trauma informed, but I'm trained by Allison Snowden, and she is really incredibly good at what she does. She's a lot more expensive than me, but if you can afford her, I'd say go by all means, go get a session with her and go get training with her, because she's just phenomenal at pinpointing what people are going through. Now, we can't change our history, and that's really, I think, where theta healing is a lot like energy work, in that simply you're sending healing to everything that's happened to you on your journey, and you're asking creator to send healing not only to those spots on the timeline, but also to your nervous system, your amygdala, your brain, every part of your body that was affected by that trauma. And some traumas are easier to heal and some aren't. And I always say, theta healing may not be for everyone, just as Reiki isn't for everyone, or, whatever modality, shamanism, working with a shaman may not be for everyone, but I would say try it all, and try several different practitioners, because you'll resonate with the person that you're meant to work with and who really has a way of helping you make breakthroughs. And then at a very simple level, what I think about theta healing is it is sacred, and it's almost biblical, where two people come together and pray and see the light and the goodness for each other. Then it can certainly begin to open up more light. So someone asked, can theta healing help with mental illness? So yeah, I think I don't like to say that there's can I say about that? So let me just kind of tune in. Sometimes people need more than one session, to work with deeper issues. And Allison always says, she's like, God, I want to be a miracle worker, and I want to take everyone's, lifetime of trauma, held in their nervous system and clear it up in one session, but maybe I can't. And she said, a lot of people who have worked with therapists for a long time, who've done like 10 years with the therapist, and they're so sick of, working on this issue, but then they come to theta healing, sometimes do kind of instantly break through, because, they've done enough talk therapy and they've done enough looking at, what is causing some of that. And then theta healing is kind of that, I don't know, it just pushes you over the mountain in a sense. But what I say about mental illness, since I suffered from major episodes of depression before and after the near-death experience, is that it can get better. The time period that you deal with, say, depression can shorten. It can you can have more consciousness around it, more awareness, less in the moment with it. You can change it a little bit quicker. The thing that I realized when I left my body in the near-death experience is that my consciousness was pure and beautiful outside of this form. When I was shoved back into this form, I had more of awareness of what was outside of me, but I also was a little bit sad, because I kind of knew that my brain chemistry, and it can't help it, it's just trauma, it is something that caused some amount of depression. And so, I realized that would be something I'd keep working with my brain. Will there be massive healing? My angels, my guides say in the next 5 years, there are so many breakthroughs and what I think is like theta healing, Reiki work, all this. If we could start combining the work of other people with new breakthroughs that are coming through and that are coming out, in the medical field and other ways of looking at energy healing, I think massive changes can happen for people, like truly, truly massive changes. We're opening up to so much. So
And
here is
sometimes what people define as mental health issues are actually spiritual issues. A lot of times it's a spiritual disconnect, what I've found.
yeah. And
So let me ask you another question though, because of, is soul retrieval part of theta healing or different?
that's a really good question. Yes, in a way it is. There's a part of theta healing. This is the way I look at it. Our ancestors might have believed in curses, and so some part of us believes, that we're cursed because our ancestors believed in it, even if we know that's ridiculous. And, we protect our energy and that can't happen. Still, our ancestors hold on to a piece of that. Soul retrieval, I did have an experience with a shaman, and I know a piece of my soul was returned, in that particular, I don't want to lessen what shamans do, because I think it's very powerful when you get an actual soul retrieval, experience. But what I've found is your power can return from situations with theta healing. So a lot of times we give power away to family members who, have told us a lot of things about ourselves. And we also give power away in love relationships, because those people may tell us a lot of things that are untrue about ourselves, or, we give power away simply because, people manipulate us and they just straight up, they do. And, you're doing something you don't want to do, and you're losing your power. You're losing your life energy because of someone else's force that they believe is just their personality. You can certainly return your power with theta healing, and it's a lot of work. But soul retrieval, yes, when you work on a particular,
maybe define it real quick for if somebody doesn't know what it is.
Yeah, so usually the way I've seen it is, so someone can have deep pieces of their soul that's lost through sexual abuse, before 5 years old. Sometimes they can disassociate, they can not remember certain parts of their life, and then when they are traumatized, they can black out, and then they could have been told by family members that this didn't happen. So I think one of the most powerful soul retrieval forms is when you're able, without someone saying anything, to say, and I've actually, been able to do this at times, to go, name the person, remind them of a certain situation that they thought was a little inappropriate, and go, okay, there was more there. We don't have to go into it, but I'm just telling you that you lost part of your soul in that moment because it was too much for you to see, that it was too horrifying for you to think that this could happen to a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old. And so it's okay that you lost part of that part of yourself, but let's go ahead and bring it back from this point forward. Because if you as an adult could pick up that 4 or 5-year-old, you take great care of him or her. That's one example, but people lose parts of their soul in war. They lose parts of themselves in all kind of traumatic situations. And there's a question here. I got COVID. I just lost it. Where is it? I got COVID last August. After a week, my oxygen dropped to 70%. I was in no pain. I could hear family members talking and calling 911. I knew I was going to the hospital. I went to my room and changed and tried to get everything I needed to stay. I was there for a while. I keep losing this. Who is this? Do you mind talking? Something about an OBE. Was it Sandy?
Brian. It was Brian.
Brian. Yes, Brian.
Yeah, that was me. I was trying to send it as a direct message, but yeah, so when I was asked if I wanted to leave, I immediately said no. I needed to do what my intention was to do here on Earth. But I really don't know why I said that or what that all meant. But I know it's just helping other people.
So this was 1999. You became a spiritual hypnotherapist, or is this someone else? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble seeing this chat.
Oh yeah, that was me. So I've been doing about 3 different healing modalities. I started in 1999, but a few years ago, I became a hypnotherapist, a spiritual hypnotherapist, and it's been really positive, finding wisdom in other people's journeys and helping them. It's really helping them help themselves. But
tell me why you said you wanted to stay. You just felt like you had more to do.
Yeah, I don't know why I said that, but immediately I said that. It was like I think it was an angel talking to me. I just heard a voice in the room. I was on my back looking at the ceiling, and I just heard the voice if I was ready to go, if I wanted to stay, and I immediately said no. I need to finish what I volunteered to come here to do. And then when I think about it, I don't know what that meant, why I said that.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about, and it's almost energetic, and it will evolve as it evolves. I mean, it's evolving as you help people each day, and I think it's cumulative. So you'll look back on all those years after that moment, and you'll go, oh, it was all those little moments where I had to help people. It was all that spreading of love. It was all that work that I had to do. And, sometimes maybe we can't put our finger on it, but we just know we're meant to do more. That's cool. And
Okay,
so
thank you.
working with Archangel, how can you tell the difference between the archangels? Sometimes I feel Michael, but I'm not sure.
After that conversation I had, for some reason, I just asked for Archangel Uriel to come in. So I saw what I believe was Uriel, and I would see white orbs going across the room in the hospital. And I don't know, it was just there, and I knew I was going to be okay. And that was on day 3. So for the rest of the days I was there, my emotions were very upbeat, and the doctors was clueless to why I was in such a great mood when I should be suffering like everybody else. But I said I was going to be okay, and I knew it.
Yeah, that's usually the key, isn't it? It's like that everything's going to be fine, and that's when I came back to my body, and I was, in the hospital for 3 days. I was in ICU for 3 days and 7 days and in the regular room. I was afraid that all the morphine pumping through my body for the pain was going to take away the near-death experience, but I have to tell you guys that it didn't. I mean, like, that was a more vivid experience than any other life moment. I feel like I was so much more connected out there, and I understood so much more. And that's probably when you made that decision, you also felt that connection. You just knew, oh, this journey, it kind of just feels so lighthearted on the other side. Like, oh, we have a journey to complete, just like we're just like, little hikers, we're just walking up this massive hill. Here it feels so intense and painful. And there on that other side, it's just like, we're just so brave and strong. We're just going to come here and do it. And so I think that's part of it. Then I'm seeing Tanya's question, which is soul retrieval, and that she went through a soul retrieval about 2.5 years ago after an NDE, and then went through a Kundalini awakening. And the soul retrieval was for childhood trauma. Yeah, I'm so glad, Tanya, that we're having conversations about how all this intersects, how childhood trauma, Kundalini awakenings can happen sometimes from childhood trauma as well. NDEs can sometimes shed a lot of light on all that we are going through here. But what can also happen too is people can just spontaneously awaken in really easy ways. But I'm very grateful for these questions about mental illness and spirituality, mental illness and near-death experiences. I think it was Raymond Moody who said that if you are a narcissist or anyone with a personality disorder and you have a near-death experience, you'll probably get rid of that disorder, like for a large part. And I found that interesting. But he said if you have, like what I had, depression, major episodes of depression, that or bipolar disorder, like those are chemical brain issues. And so you're going to come back to that same chemical body. You can still do work on it, but you're still coming back to the same brain. But his belief is that personality disorders can be changed because of that oneness experience. And there was one, and I have it on my Facebook page somewhere, but it was an IANDS story actually. And there was a guy, it's the only one I found, who he was physically and my computer's about to die. So let me make sure I plug it in quickly. He was abusive physically, mentally, emotionally to his wife, and he had a near-death experience. And they were both participating in it to some degree, but he really came out of it and he was like, whoa, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is incredibly painful. I can't say these words to someone. I can't curse them with my words. I can't call them names. This is not of the light, and so he literally had this experience where he could no longer be mean to others because he could feel, their pain. And he didn't salvage that marriage because they had 20 years of abuse. And he left it though, and he actually served people, like many near-death experiencers do, and learn to work differently. So I think, there are some examples of personality disorders where people have had near-death experiences and just can't, like, because they're connected to other people, empathy isn't a problem anymore. Like they can feel what other people are going through. So they change to some degree. Any other questions, or anyone want me to tune in to anything? Or if you just certainly want to tune in to anything that you're working on personally, maybe I can end this with kind of a general theta healing, and you can simply accept this or not. The way I work with theta healing is I just kind of go, just if you want it for yourself, if you feel like it could be applicable somewhere, then you can just nod internally. But if you want to post anything that you're working on, I would love.
And while the people are doing that, I'm going to also put I'll put Tricia's website in the chat room. Also, our Hawaiian IANDS, just to remind everybody that we're all donation based, that this is all free if people feel like donating. But I want to put Tricia's website because she is available for theta healings, readings. She also has an amazing spiritual community that I go to that is really wonderful. And we're going to put that in there. Also Stephen's website. So I just want to make sure that we put all those in case anybody does leave or goes into another zone after your amazing theta healing.
Oh, okay, cool. So I'm getting releasing a trauma bond from a narcissistic relationship. That's a good one. And all of us have had, I joke one time that someone made me laugh. I think I asked one of the groups and mine, I was like, has anyone ever known a narcissist? And then one person was like, oh no, never. We all laughed. So even if it's someone at work, we have all experienced somewhere along the line narcissistic abuse. Overcoming anger. Oh, cool. What else? Fatigue. Oh, thank you. That's a great one. And I have to say that some of that fatigue, if this helps, I think we're integrating a lot of knowledge from the other side, like since 2020, really, since 2020, we've been getting just a lot of messages about what to do. And sometimes we don't even know how to change our lives, and it's overwhelming. So I'd say some of that fatigue is simply just integration. And so be easy on yourself. But overcoming anger, disassociation, anger, fatigue. I think that's enough. If we could clear fatigue and anger, we'd be all set, wouldn't we?
Wait, throw in good old worthiness.
And worthiness, yes. Oh, and brain injury. Yes, such good ones. All right. Brain injury and worthiness. Okay. So I will Is that okay if I end with that? All right. So again, I'll just ask everyone to mute themselves and really just accept this into your heart. Exhaustion and fatigue is the first thing I want to work with. So take a really deep breath in and just let all stress go out of your body. You might immediately feel a wash of unconditional love moving through every cell in your body. Just righting anything that's wrong. Really adding light and lightness to your bones, to every part of you. And dear Creator of all that is, at that ancestral level, if anyone here holds deep fatigue, I am fatigued, yes. I am exhausted, yes. I'm exhausted by people, yes. I command that this program be removed and deleted at the ancestral level, and we send much healing to everyone's ancestors on their mother's side and father's side who work so hard, perhaps without acknowledgement, without decent compensation, without empathy for all the hard work that they put into their lives. We just send them so much love. But we ask that this program within ourselves be deleted, and that instead we have a program of I am in perfect balance with the rest I need for my body, my soul, my mind, my spirit. I am deeply rested. I brag about how much sleep I get to my friends. My friends celebrate my deep rest. And I have a wellspring of new energy, creativity, happiness at that ancestral level. And at that soul level, if there was ever a lifetime where anyone felt enslaved, fatigued, beaten down by systems, by family, by situations that were unbearable, and command that all of those soul memories be sent healing and light, and that program of I am deeply fatigued, I am deeply tired, that this program simply be removed and deleted. And at the soul level, a download of I have much creativity, I am creative, I know how to take care of myself, I feel joy for life. At the soul level, yes, be the replacement. And at that core level, Creator, I command that the program, I'm deeply fatigued, I am overwhelmed, I'm exhausted from caring for others, from caring for myself, that this program be removed and deleted. And that everyone here receive many different types of rest that they need to feel rejuvenated: spiritual rest, rest from stimulation, rest from interaction, rest from responsibility, rest from overexertion and doing too much. And then at that life journey level, all the lives here, I command that all trauma be simply collapsed in the timeline of everyone here, whether this trauma is due to narcissistic relationships, childhood abuse, disassociation from deep pain, anger at moments in life. I command that Creator, you send love and healing to all those spots on everyone's timeline. Also sending love and healing to their nervous system, their brains, their hearts, their veins, their necks. Letting everyone here have a deeper sleep and a deeper rest this evening. And dear Creator of all that is, I just command that you give everyone here a deep worthiness of, I am worthy of taking care of myself. Yes. I'm worthy of my own empathy. Yes. I'm worthy of healing. Yes. I'm worthy of connecting with the right healing modalities and the right situations for me to heal. I am open to divinity working through others and really just through nature and through my own request for healing. I'm open to instant healing. Dear Creator of all that is, I command that everyone here be given a download of, I know what instant healing feels like in my cells, in my bones, in my feet, in every part of my body. I'm open to what this feels like and what this is. And one last download I'm being told to give is, dear Creator, I command that everyone here be given a download of your joy, your absolute joy for living, so that this can be embodied more frequently in the lives and the smiles and the laughter and the experiences of everyone here present and everyone that they interact with and everyone that those people interact with as well. Amen.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. So I want to remind everyone that on July 19th, we have our third Tuesday sharing group. So Brian, hopefully you'll come and share your story. On one of these nights, Tricia is going to surprise us and show up. And everybody else who hasn't been. And Tricia's website is in there. Hopefully you guys will, if you haven't checked out her spiritual community, it's really great. It's usually twice a month on Wednesdays, right? And she's going to be speaking at the IANDS conference in September in Salt Lake City, Utah, which will be pretty great. And just thank you for all of you for being here. It's been really a wonderful evening. And hope to see you all soon. And Cynthia, did you have something that you wanted to say? Your hand was up.
Yes. I would like to watch this broadcast again. Is it on the website?
Okay, so right now it's on Facebook. If you go to Hawaiian IANDS Facebook or IANDS Maui or IANDS Oahu.
Okay.
But it'll be on our YouTube channel. Did you subscribe to our newsletter? If you go to, okay, it'll be on the YouTube channel in a week or so, depending on how long it takes to get up there. But yeah, so you'll be able to watch it. Yeah.
How do I search for that? IANDS?
Hawaiian IANDS.
Hawaiian IANDS. Okay. That's why I
IANDS.
found it.
Hawaiian IANDS. IANDS. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Or email me and I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Thank
Shaun,
you.
and I don't know if you remember the name of the book that you mentioned. It was a Course in Miracles book earlier.
Oh, for you, spiritual growth.
Yes.
Spiritual growth through relationships from special to holy by Robert Perry. I'll send you the link.
Hey, just let someone else out there might need it. Sounds like an amazing book.
Well, yeah, and we're gonna do our A Course in Miracles group for NDE or soon.
What? Get out of here. I'll be there.
Yeah. I think we'll start like right after the conference, like October. Barbara
Cool.
Ireland and whoever else wants to do it. We'll start. It'll be kind of
Yay.
fun. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And then people are saying, share the link of the book.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. I'll hurry and get it real quick.
Everyone's pressing you. And yeah. And while Shaun does that, I will try to make more of these groups. Brian, I'd love to hear your story. And Stephen, thank you for the beautiful meditation, and everyone who asked questions and participated, and those who I know and I've seen before. Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Yeah, keep talking a sec while I'm looking.
Hope you're doing well. And you know what I say about theta healing is I don't think you have to be an expert, because when we did all these courses, even when we got the words wrong, it was just the intention, I think, to heal sometimes that helped people get rid of programs that, it was, a group of people and we were just like, oh, I want you to get over that so badly. You say some words and then someone feels better. So really, love is the greatest healer, because it is the greatest transformer of whatever is going on. And when people share that love with another person, it really does assist in their healing.
Yeah, so the book Tricia was talking about is relationships as a spiritual journey from specialness to holiness. And it's based on A Course in Miracles, if you guys know what A Course in Miracles is. And it's written by Robert Perry. And it basically shows how relationships is how we do most of our spiritual growth. And it's where all of our triggers come out and our wounds. And just when we're usually about to give up in relationships is when our biggest growth potential lies. So anyway, it's a great book if you guys want to check it out.
Yeah. And they can also make you want to just like go back up there, like, oh, people are so fucked up. Let me just go up there. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes, I think we have about 5 F-bombs that so we have to
Sorry.
figure.
I am really guilty of that. My book has 17 F-bombs. So but when you say it with joy like a kid, it's different. I don't say it with meaning, like meanness.
That's right.
I think it was
All right. I love you guys.
Okay. Thank you. Aloha. Everybody have a great night. See you all soon.
Bye.